I'm currently in one of the most beautiful places I have ever been to. It's an Airbnb. There are walls that look like they were built hundreds of years ago. There's a stream with rushing water. And when you come out to nature like this, you start to realize what's important. There are a lot of people who live in big cities who don't see things like this. They don't get out in nature. They don't see the real world, and they get trapped in politics. They get trapped in this ideological battle. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Something really important. For one, the way things are going with me cannot go on forever. That should be obvious to everyone. And a lot of people have told me, Tim, don't burn out and be careful. I will never burn out because I'm a crazy person, I guess. But it is true that what I'm doing is not sustainable and can't go on forever for several reasons. Politics is extremely dangerous. Trying to constantly call out the bad and focusing solely on these issues is not a good thing for anybody. And we're going to talk about this. I made a big Twitter thread, wrote a blog about the problems of social media and why what I'm doing does need to change. I have a few ideas first and foremost. For those that are interested in my channel, like what I do, I'm thinking about a few options that I think might work, might make it easier for me, and might actually allow me to expand and do more work. For one, with Subverse, we have been doing more on-the-ground reporting. This is only possible because the money I make from my main channel, from my second channel, and from donors like you who give to me through PayPal or, yeah, I know I didn't delete my Patreon, but it still kind of exists. It's slowly disappearing. But Subscribestar, when you donate, that money offsets the loss of covering an international trip. I've had more than one company tell me they want to fund on-the-ground journalism, that they can get me the money I need, but I don't trust these companies. They all start coming out of the woodwork as soon as my channels start doing really, really well. Fortunately, I make a decent amount of money through ad revenue, and I've been getting more views than ever. It's fantastic. But the truth is, in the past year, I've been doing substantially more work than ever, to the point where you start to lose focus of what's important. Like what's behind me, the sounds you hear, the rushing water, the fun of travel, meeting new people, experiencing new things. The last thing I want to do is sit in a room all day. I spent most of my years traveling and going on the ground. And it's only in the past year or so I focused more heavily on being in studio. I know my studio is my room, but being in studio allows me to stay up to date with more relevant news, produce content faster, produce more content, and allows me to make the money I need to fund someone like Emily going on the ground in Paris to cover the Yellow Vest protests repeatedly. I was really grateful, surprised, and I felt really good when we published this video on the Yellow Vest protests, and a lot of the comments were like, where's the lie? It's just real news coverage. We're certainly not the only ones doing news coverage, but in today's day and age, I understand why a lot of people appreciate that we're trying our best to be kind of boring with what we're doing over at Subverse. We broke 100,000 subscribers recently, mostly because I keep telling all of you subscribe to Subverse, and a lot of you did. And now that's given us an opportunity to actually start producing kind of straight-laced news. Not everybody likes it. Not every video is going to get 100% thumbs up. Nothing we can really do about it, but our intention is to produce real news and not spin it in such a way to convince you of something. And this is what we need to talk about. Why I think we need to make changes, and why I'm going to be making changes on this channel. Subverse is going to be the home for real news. You've seen me hosting videos there. It's pretty dry, straightforward news with very little opinion, if any at all. On-the-ground reporting, and we're even commissioning others to produce documentaries and travel shows. That's going to be going over there. What's probably going to happen on my main channel is going to be more focused on travel and a lot less on news, kind of like how I was used to doing it, but I've got to figure things out. Let me explain to you why this has to happen. In a Twitter thread I made earlier today, I talked about how Twitter is radicalizing people faster than any other platform. And there's several reasons for this. Short-form content. It's hard to hold context. So someone will say something and they'll try and cram an idea into a tiny space. Other people will misinterpret that idea, or it'll actually be taken out of context, or unintentionally, the context is stripped. This radicalizes people when they see only tidbits of information. They see only headlines, they see information condensed, and they see short 10-second clips of people talking without realizing they were talking about something entirely different. One example I like to give is, if I said something like, I don't like pizza, someone could take that clip, put it on social media and say Tim doesn't like pizza. But what if I said, Bill told me I don't like pizza? Well, that changes the context of everything. Because of Twitter, people are sharing misinformation, they're believing it, and it's not helping anybody. There was a time when I was told that what I was doing was the future of journalism, that Twitter was real reporting on the ground and it was what we needed. But in reality, it opened the door for misinformation, and misinformation travels faster than real information. So perhaps there are pros and cons, but some are worse than others. There's another serious problem with Twitter. Gamification. People are addicted to getting more points. Their follower count, their like count, their retweets, shares, engagement. These are points. It makes people feel good. You put out a hot take, you get 1,000 retweets, and all of a sudden people feel validated. But what happens when you don't get those retweets? What happens when you get dogpiled? People will pile onto you, insulting you because it gets them retweets. And Twitter knows this. They've actually floated the idea of removing follower count, removing like counts, removing retweets, but they don't. Ultimately, they don't. Why? Because that's the video game of Twitter. People are radicalized by constantly trying to get that hot take so that they can get points. But it's not so much about Twitter. Okay, Twitter is a problem in a lot of ways. It's good in a lot of ways. It's fun being connected. And admittedly, I have a ton of followers. I appreciate all of you. And look, it's crazy when I log in and I see 310,000 people. Keemstar shouted me out earlier. You know, he is a big YouTuber. It's kind of a good feeling. It makes you feel good. But I recognize this. I try to stay centered, and I absolutely try to avoid social media radicalization, which is another point, which is the next point, I should say. Over on Facebook, these companies, these social media companies realized there was a formula to getting shares. They write something that makes you angry because anger triggers the most shares. The companies don't care about validation or points, but the individuals do. Early on, 2013, there were a lot of digital media companies that were trying to be balanced. But over time, they realized identity politics, social justice worked really, really well. They got more shares than ever before. I was actually told by one of the marketing people for one of these big companies, mothers share the most, anger makes people share the most, females who are angry share the most. What ends up happening is you see the emergence of all of these digital media sites radicalizing people. Interestingly, now they say that YouTube is the great radicalizer, but that's somewhat true, but for the most part it's not. The data doesn't show that, and I can really break this down. On Twitter and Facebook, you are immediately rewarded with shares. If I retweet you, it will appear in my followers' feed immediately. On Facebook, it's not exactly the same, but if I share something, my friends and family will see what was shared. Facebook changed a lot of their algorithm last year to de-rank news brands and bring back a more family and friend related experience. The news brands were hurting Facebook, but Facebook was also promoting extremist content. Here's how I explain it. Let's say a media site realizes we wrote an article calling Trump racist and it got 1 million views. How do we recreate that? Well, we can't say Donald Trump is racist again. We already did. How about we say Donald Trump is the most racist? So that's tomorrow's article. They got another 1 million views. Now they say, how do we recreate this again? We want a sustainable business model, and we want to feel like we have a path, a light at the end of the tunnel. We want to feel like we know tomorrow I can keep making money and my career will still exist, but social media does not allow that. Not only do you need to keep pushing new ideas to get people to want to read, you have to make them angry or a sense of justice. That's another good way to share content. But social media could also ban you outright, and they don't care. They know you're building a business on their platform and they could get rid of you. So people go for the short-term earns. Donald Trump is racist becomes Donald Trump is the most racist, and then within a few days to a week, you wrote an article saying Donald Trump is literally the worst racist we've ever experienced in our lives. He's Cheeto Hitler, etc., and this is where we are. These digital media companies didn't care about social justice. They cared about a sustainable business model, but they knew it was short-term. They invested huge sums of money, got a big payout, and now are writing off their losses. They're laying people off because Facebook changed everything. Facebook changed the algorithm, and these businesses can't maintain this. Now, over on YouTube, it's similar but different. I would say this, first and foremost, anybody who believes they're immune to these systems would be lying to you, ignorant, or just wrong. I know full well I am susceptible to these same problems that these other digital media companies were susceptible to. I try to avoid it because I'm conscious of it, and I know I am not immune to the gradual, rolling off a cliff. I don't think that's necessarily true for me for the most part, because I think I kind of teeter back and forth kind of around a similar area, but eventually things kind of get cumbersome and hyper-focused. I think I can be guilty of that, absolutely. But here's the thing. On YouTube, you can make a piece of content, and you don't know whether or not YouTube will choose to share that with your audience. The other day I made a video about a pro-life rally that only got about 50,000 views. I mean, that's really good for a lot of channels. I think that's more than some of the bigger news channels get on an average video, but it's actually really low for what I normally get on my videos on average. The average for my second channel is around 130,000 views. The average for my main channel is around 160. So that was low. But you know what? I don't care. It's not going to dictate the kind of content I'm going to make. I just talk about things I like talking about or think are more important or I think are having a big impact. On YouTube, I cannot click share on a video and have it appear in your subscription feeds. In fact, I can't even make my videos appear in your subscription feeds or even get you notifications if you ask for them. It's one of the big problems of YouTube that you might click notifications on someone's channel and you don't get it. This actually makes it much harder to radicalize people on YouTube. The bigger problem being Facebook. Because Facebook, it's instant. This is why we saw 2 billion views for Al Jazeera Plus. It's why we saw low-quality blogs breaking global rankings on Alexa. The top websites simply for talking about police brutality. That was radicalizing people. It made people see a constant threat. It made them believe that there was one problem that was above all else, and it's resulting in a dramatic shift in politics, mostly on the left. It does affect the right. You'll see people on the right talk about Islam and about the threat of terror and things like this, and those videos also get a ton of traffic. However, the social media sites restrict and ban these videos, so it's much easier for conservatives to stay centered when the content trying to pull them to the extremes isn't allowed. The left doesn't have the same problem. They can repeatedly push these things, push identitarianism, and it works. The social media companies know the gamification process. They know how it works. They don't really care because they make a lot of money from it. Albeit Facebook did change their algorithm, but look at Twitter, talking about removing the counters and then not doing it. I hear that Instagram is going to be removing like counts for people under the age of 18 because gamification is a serious problem. It's like a video game. You play the game, you want to earn more points, and people do. So here's the thing. At a certain point, I produce this content every day. I wake up, I read it, and you forget about the beauty of the world. You forget about what's actually going on around you. And I want to do more stories that are based in reality and less in the forefront of the culture war. That doesn't mean that I think these issues aren't important. It doesn't mean that I think the videos I made in the past are good or bad. It just means that only focusing on the forefront of the culture war is going to make anybody go insane and might actually help make things worse. Again, I'll stress, I think YouTube doesn't have the same problem that Facebook, Twitter, and some other platforms do. But sitting around and focusing on core issues too much, not a good thing. Many of you may know I have a van in the works. The van is going to allow me to travel and to continue producing content. I'm going to do that. I don't know exactly when it will be done, but I'm making this video kind of as a heads up, some change is coming. One of the goals is going to be to produce more with Subverse, focusing on tech, privacy issues, civil rights, and still a bit of the culture war. A lot of the content that you'll get from me on this channel, it's probably going to stay the same for a little while. But on my second channel, I'll probably be reforming things into a better structure of top news and peripheral news, something that has to do with the biggest story of the day, and then slowly trailing off into kind of side issues and cultural issues. So it'll be relatively the same. I'll probably have a 10 a.m., 1 p.m., and then 6:15, and 6:30 video, but I'm probably going to record them as a single podcast and then break them up. I don't do that. I actually read the news nonstop all day, every day. The reason for this is, for one, when winter comes, yeah, I can't really go out anyway, so I do sit around reading the news all day and bringing you my commentary, and it's worked better than anything else. There are a lot of people who say, you know, Tim, you should do more of this, more of that, and the issue is, well, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to do what I feel like doing. And what I've been doing makes me feel good talking about issues I think are important, and it also does well in terms of viewership, growth, and allows me to make more content and hire people to go and produce the journalism that I can't, for several reasons. For one, I've become too recognizable. It's hard for me to go into big, protests and fights without someone pointing me out, threatening me and things like that, so that means I need to fund other people to do it. The goal is going to be for straight news to be on Subverse, which we're already doing, for an hour-long podcast talking about news and the culture war and cultural issues from my perspective on the main channel, on the second channel. This channel will probably start to devolve, I shouldn't say devolve, but evolve into more, I don't know how you describe it, travel, experience, human interest. It's definitely still going to relate to political issues. I'm probably going to do more man-on-the-street videos. I'm probably going to be outside a lot more, and the van is making this possible. The goal of the van, not to live in it. The goal of the van is to have a mobile production studio that we can travel with and we'll probably be staying in hotels. A lot of people keep making the joke that I'm going to live in a van down by the river, but that is not the case. The van will be equipped for this. I think the reason this is really important is I don't want to fall into any traps where I play the same stupid game these fringe ideological digital media publications did and then collapsed. We need to make sure that as we're building a company, we don't rely on Facebook, Google, and Twitter, Instagram, etc. We need to rely on ourselves and alternate streams of revenue. BuzzFeed sells cookware. Yeah, good for them. But they become obsessed. They become obsessed with needing a villain to promote their content because they're radicalized. And it's happening to everybody. And this is driving the culture war. So we do need a break from this. And I'll say this. I recognize that the issues I care about have worked. Let me explain. People try to accuse me of producing content specifically to cater to an audience to get traffic. Absolutely not true. And for most people, this is not true. It's true for some. Some people are liars, some people are cheaters. For me, I talk about the things that I cared about and an audience formed around it. And there are bugs. I'm in the middle of a wooded area, forgive me. I went to Occupy Wall Street. I covered what they were doing. I was attacked by, black bloc anarchist types. They've repeatedly threatened me. They've always threatened me. My opinions on them haven't changed. My opinions on free speech haven't changed. These are the things that I think are most important. I talk about Trump sometimes. I don't know too much about him. But I try to talk about what I think is important. Activists trying to get financial institutions to shut people down. And I see this happening to conservatives and moderates who don't have the same voice as those who have been radicalized by digital media. So it happens. At the same time, I do want to explore the world more and make something that inspires people and doesn't make them angry so much. I made videos over the past year or so that I felt were really important. I'll continue to do so. But what I'm saying is, expect to see more videos outside, expect to see more travel, and expect to see me trying to break away from this ridiculous forefront of the culture war. As much as it's important, I think, to try and hold a center and pull people back from the extremes, I think maybe one thing you can do is show the real world, talk to real people, do more. This may result in me producing less, I don't know. I'm going to have a meeting to try and figure out how we can bring on more staff and produce more content under my guidance and others who I've worked with. I just think there needs to be something different in news. I don't know what the solutions are going to be. I don't know where this is all going. But I do know that social media is an addiction. People are addicted to earning their points. I don't want to fall in that trap. I feel like I've been pretty good at avoiding it. I don't get depressed when my views are down. I don't blame YouTube when my views are down. I don't care how many likes I have. I don't care how many views I have. And at a certain point, I just want to go out and smell the flowers. At some point, you realize everyone's kind of losing their mind. How do you make it stop? I honestly don't know. But people tell me I should. Well, I don't. What I do know is, go outside. It's beautiful. Springtime is here. I'm going to get in my van. I'm going to go talk to real people. And I'm going to do my best on this channel to focus on news and travel. So while I'll be doing travel videos, it's going to be news focused. We're going to be driving to places where things are happening. And we're going to do kind of like a vlog around news issues, kind of like what I was doing when we started with Sweden. I need to figure out how it's all going to work, but this channel is probably going to be very different moving forward, simply because I'll end by saying this. I've been talking for a while, but we're going to end. It's not about burning out. Some people burn out, they say they can't do this, they go on vacation. No. I'm certainly not going to stop working. In fact, I'm increasing the amount of work I'm doing. But I want to make a change to diversify what I'm doing. I want to do things that I think are more exciting, more wholesome, and might actually help break people away from the insanity that is the day-to-day culture war. I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know if it's going to work, and I'm willing to bet my viewership is going to go down, but you know what? I just don't care about that. I care about cool things. I've been talking to some cool people for the past few months about awesome stories on the ground, kind of like how Vice used to do it. That's why I wanted to work for Vice. That's why I joined Vice. I want to find something like that. I want to go meet crazy people. I want to play with energy weapons. I want to go on the ground and talk to real Trump supporters in the heartland. I want to go to the West Coast and meet some activists working underground. I want to talk to real people, and I want to stay away from the forefront of the insanity and just explore the world. I will have the podcast being formed out of, you know what might end up happening is the podcast I currently have, if you're not familiar, it's Tim Pool Daily Show on iTunes and all podcast formats. It's this channel. But I think I'm going to have my second channel turn into the podcast format, and this turn into a vlog travel news format. We're going to walk around, we're going to show you cities, we're going to show you beautiful scenery, and we're going to talk about issues and how it relates to real people. That's what I'm thinking now. But here's what I need from you. Comment, let me know what you think. I do read the comments, people don't think I do. I just don't have time to respond to everybody. Let me know what you think. I don't know when the van is going to be done, but it is going to be done soon. I've posted some photos to Instagram, only a couple more weeks. And as soon as it is, I'm going to be in that van all the time. So here's what I'm thinking, just to wrap everything up. Subverse is going to have Monday through Thursday hosted news content, very straight news, a lot of original reporting and on-the-ground reporting. We're already doing that, so if you haven't subscribed, youtube.com/subversevideos. My opinion and news and culture war content is probably going to be youtube.com/timcastnews. This channel, Timcast, will probably become this channel is Tim Pool, but the URL is Timcast. It's probably just going to be me. I might make a video about whatever I want. I might travel around. Right now, this channel has primarily been news and analysis. It evolved into that because, to be honest, winter came, and so I'm not really traveling. I'm indoors a lot. And I also find it funny that people don't seem to realize, they say Tim doesn't travel enough. I'm like, dude, it's winter. I travel domestically. It's springtime. I'm out now. Okay, that's what I want to do. So I think this is how we segment everything properly. And I think it makes sense to move news commentary to my second channel and have this channel be for me. But we'll see what happens. The changes aren't going to come overnight. I'm making this video now as a heads up, things are going to change. It's mostly changing because, for one, I want to travel a lot more, and it's really hard to do so on my current schedule. But also, we are going to meet with some people right now to figure out how to hire more people and start producing real news content like a real news organization, because this can't just be me. It can't. This channel can be. This is YouTube. It's fun, but something needs to change. So that's the structure. Thanks for hanging out. If you haven't already subscribed to my second channel, it's youtube.com/timcastnews. Very opinion-y, sometimes silly. I talked about an asteroid slamming into the Earth a couple days ago. I just talk about what I feel like talking about. And this is going to be more travel-focused, outside, fun. And we're going to have a van. It's going to be very, very cool. So let me know what you think. I am going to read through all of these comments, and I will have more videos on my second channel, youtube.com/timcastnews, 6, 6:15, and 6:30. I guess I'll see you there. But I will end by saying, follow me. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I'm going to read through it. Any ideas, stories, ideas. Also, one of the things we're going to need with this van, and I will stress this too, like the van idea has been around for a long time. So this has been a long time coming. I've just been waiting to make this video to talk about the plans. But with this, we are going to be setting up a dedicated tip line where you can send story ideas. And I'm not looking for, a story about Donald Trump doing a backflip. I'm looking for a story of a little old lady who, because of changes in the economy, because of, something happening with the coal industry, she experiences something. Human interest, real stories, real politics, on the ground, real conversations, my opinion on news, second channel, straight news and original reporting, Subverse. And that's the plan. This has been an update, but again, I'll have more videos for you later. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you next time.